Hello, this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs. It's my mission to help solos, those of you in one-person businesses, understand and apply the 7 solo business principles to your enterprises so that you can find more financial success. I hope you'll visit my website at www.bettersmarterricher.com. There you can download the free ebook outlining the 7 principles, sign up for the free newsletter, and join the conversation on the blog. Also, of course, stay tuned into this weekly radio show, which is posted weekly on www.soloproradio.com. There's a lot of stuff coming up in September. On September 18th, we're doing a free symposium outlining the 7 principles for solopreneurship. It will be at the Portland Community College Climb Center on the corner of Southeast Water and Southeast Clay, 6 to 9 p.m. Just call, register. Free event on September 24th, and then again on September 26th. We're starting our in-person study groups. The one that starts on September 24th is going to be 1 to 3 p.m. out at the Portland Community College Willow Creek Center. And the one that starts on September 26th is going to run from 9 to 11 in the morning at the Portland Community College Climb Center. Love to have you take a look at those. If you bought the book and you haven't been working the work, you got to work the work to get the benefit. It would be great if you participate in a study group with us. We'd love to have you. And then on September 28th, I'm going to be a speaker at the Inspired Entrepreneurs Conference at the Downtown Hilton. Also, love to have you take a look at that. It's a wonderful lineup, and I know you'll enjoy it. But let's get on to our program today. I have a great guest. This is my friend and colleague, Alicia Lanier. She's a civil engineer, solopreneur project manager. Wow. She focuses on complex projects that require collaboration and effective communication across multidisciplinary teams and stakeholders. In other words, she gets us all working in the same direction. She coaches teams to help them select an appropriate framework for managing a project, developing project-specific tools, and using those tools. Not just that we know about them, we actually use them. She's begun helping solopreneurs and small business owners tap into some of the principles and methods of project planning and organization so that she says she helps them control the chaos. We all know about that in our work. So please help me welcome Alicia Lanier. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Jackie.
I'm so glad you could be here today.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. I haven't gotten to talk to you about your career for quite a while, so I hope we get to do some catch-up today. So, Alicia, start by telling us your story. You know, you've got a fabulous story. So tell our listeners where you grew up and went to school and what led you to choose a career in civil engineering and project management. How'd you get there?
Yeah, okay, well, that's a great question. It's been kind of a long, maybe even a torturous path, but I grew up in a little farming town, outside of a farming town in southeastern North Carolina on a tobacco farm. And I knew I was the first of my extended family to actually go away to a university, which was a big deal for us. But my family, my parents were real motivated to have us exceed what they'd been able to do. And they really put a lot of effort into encouraging us, me and my 4 sisters, in getting the most education that we thought we were capable of getting. So I ended up going to school at North Carolina State University. It was close by. It was affordable. I mean, I was pretty fortunate. I got out, I ended up with a master's degree eventually with no student loans, and I think that might be unheard of today, but it was just an amazing experience. And it was close enough to home I could go back as often as I needed to, and the first couple of years I had to go back and help on the farm, which was that was our agreement. So I did that. It was great because I loved being there. I started out, Jackie, in psychology because I was very interested and people. But then I found out that I'd need to get an advanced degree to do what I thought I'd really want to do, and I didn't think I was smart enough to do that. So, and then the other thing was I thought I probably would have to be inside all the time, and being a farm girl, I just crave being outside. So a friend of mine thought that I would be able to do engineering. He was in mechanical engineering, studying mechanical engineering, and he helped me evaluate some engineering programs at North Carolina State, and I found biological and agricultural engineering. It was a great fit for me. The people were wonderful. A lot of people had an agricultural background. What that program was essentially was civil engineering with an agricultural biological twist. And I minored in civil engineering. Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe, but the things I studied were biology, chemistry, hydrology, surface and groundwater, and hydraulics. Moving water around, and also how the plants and soil, can be used for treating wastewater. So a lot of those kinds of things.
Interesting.
I studied a lot of those things. Mm-hmm. And I considered myself an environmentalist, and as it really fit well. I thought that was the path I was going to be on, was being more of an environmental type engineer, but things worked out in a different way where I focused more on civil engineering. Yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting path, and then through my civil engineering work, I worked on some projects at North Carolina State that were they were projects to evaluate pollution control on farmland. So we studied good practices and bad practices, I was an extension specialist for 6 years while I was getting my master's degree. So that was one of my research projects, and we used that project to show farmers good practices and bad practices in farming to try to keep the soil on their land, because there are a lot of practices that people are using and still do that basically just ruin the land, and that was an interesting project. Then I got a job with C.H. Tilton Hill when I graduated with my master's degree. That was kind of interesting too, because I had identified a lot of companies that seemed to be hiring agricultural and biological engineers, civil engineers, and a lot of them, C.H. Tilton Hill was doing a lot of wastewater reuse, taking treated water from municipalities and land applying it, and you need all those different technical skills that I had mentioned studying. You needed all of those to be able to understand those systems. And I went down to New Orleans and gave a student paper at our professional conference, and it's kind of funny. I'll tell this story because I met a man who on the bus going on to we were going out to the Gulf to do a little before conference fun thing, go out into the Gulf and catch some fish, and we even caught some seahorses, and I talked to this guy about working for C.H. Tilton Hill, how excited I was, and how it might be, I thought they might be a good fit for me, and he told me that maybe I should consider starting as a secretary, and I was with my partner. I looked at him aghast. I said, "Are you kidding me? I didn't do all this work to do that."
Oh, funny.
Well, the funny thing is, that was before I gave my paper. But, I was bubbly, little, my hair was all curly. I'm sure I didn't look very professional.
Wow.
Yeah, but I gave my paper. I got all cleaned up. I was wearing my suit, and, I could switch gears pretty well. And he came up to me. He came and listened to my paper, and he came up to me afterwards. He said, "I want to interview you for a job as an engineer at C.H. Tom Hill." And he did, and that's how I got my job at C.H. Tom Hill.
Isn't that interesting? Wow.
It was really interesting. Yeah, I mean, appearances really matter, and when I'm out having fun, I'm not really paying that much attention to it, I guess. But.
Well, particularly as a young woman in a man's field, you know.
Well, and you have to remember this was quite a while back.
Yes, I was going to say, I think things have changed quite a bit, and there's a whole lot more sensitivity to it. You know, your daughter may never have to deal with this, or my granddaughter may never have to deal with it, but it's still there. I sometimes think about the women in the military, you know, and this awful thing that's going on that they're struggling with, and I think, wow, you know, they're such pioneers to, you know, fly helicopters and go into combat and, you know, drive tanks and do some of the things that they're doing, and you know, they're just busting barriers one after another for us. And that's what you were doing. You were breaking a barrier. And how great it is that he kind of turned around and came back, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he didn't really apologize, but he kind of apologized.
By hiring me. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and you know, and you're talking about, you know, breaking barriers. Well, there are women before me, you know, years, decades of the women breaking barriers, and so, you know, I owe a lot to those women as well. There were women in the profession, and I watched them, and I found it was really hard. It was really hard for me to think about how I was as a woman fitting into that man's world. But, you know, over time, I kind of tried to hold on to myself and what I really thought was important. Anyway, we may be getting off track there, but that's
that's okay. It's all part of what we're doing, you know. And being a woman in a man's world is still hard. I can remember in my accounting days when I was on a lot of national committees for the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and there was not another woman to be seen. You know, I was totally the token woman. And I remember that very well, and I'd come back to the meeting and I'd say, well, you know, we'd take a break. I'd say, well, one of the advantages, you know, is that there's no other women waiting to use the restroom. I mean, I'd be the only one there, you know. And I can remember one trip where we held our committee meeting. These are prestigious national committees, you know. And we held our committee meeting in New York, and they arranged to have lunch at some club. And it wasn't till we were walking in the door that it suddenly dawned on the chair of the committee that they didn't admit women to this club, not even for lunch. You know, and he's going, oh, my God, you know. And, I mean, I really wasn't aware of it till later, but I brought a hush to the dining room, let me tell you, when we went in and sat down. And as I say, I was kind of oblivious because I thought, well, I was with all these guys on this committee. They were with all these big CPA firms, you know, there we were. And, you know, nobody came over and said, you have to leave. But, you know, there was definitely an aura in the room. And it wasn't until later that they told me about the whole thing. And I said, oh, I wish you'd told me ahead of time so I could have enjoyed it. You know. But there's been a lot of barrier breaking. Actually, there's a lot of barrier breaking going on being a solo entrepreneur and being self-employed, you know, and that's one of the barriers that's coming down these days. There's been a lot of looking down on one-person businesses, and all of a sudden so many people are finding it as a wonderful way to be self-employed, to be a solopreneur, that we're breaking down those barriers too. So there's I liken that to the internet because I keep saying the internet made our solo businesses scalable. You know, geography doesn't matter. We can reach clients anywhere, and that's what's really happened. Yeah.
Well, that's true. I back in the spring I worked on a proposal for the city of Portland, the emergency management. And I pulled 4 other women, solopreneurs, together to work on this proposal. We did the whole entire proposal remotely. It wasn't until after the proposal was finished, because we were under such a time crunch. A few of us knew each other. There were 2 women knew each other, and we just had these different connections. But the whole team had never met all at once.
Right.
And finally, after the proposal was done and we had some breathing space, I said, we have to get together and celebrate the proposal, finishing this thing. So we got together and met for the first time and had a wonderful time, and we made a pact that if we continue looking for proposals, requests for proposals like that, so that we could work together. We just enjoyed it so much. And, I think part of what you're saying, it was looked down upon, is people don't really understand the commitment level people have as a solopreneur. I mean, it was wonderful working with these women. We were all very committed to the project, to actually, trying to win this work. We put together a great proposal. We didn't win, but we lost by very few points, to the incumbent. Yeah, so we felt very happy with what we'd done and our capabilities. It was the first time we'd come together like that, and it gave me a lot of confidence that, if I find something that's very interesting and I see some holes, I don't actually have to fill all those holes.
Right.
I don't have to look for something that is just solely work that I can do, but I could pull it together, a team. I can pull them together quickly, because now I have a network that I know a lot of people, and I just have to keep my network thriving, I think, to be able to make that happen.
I think that's wonderful, and as I told you in our notes prior to the program, I think that what you have moved to be teaching, which is methodologies of group project management and communication and team coordination, all the relationship side of business, not just the left brain side and the technical side of the project, but the people side of the project. It seems to me I've seen you move your practice much more in that direction, and I think that is perfect for solos, because there's a lot of solos who have exactly the experience you're talking about of wanting to take on a bigger project than they can manage by, just themselves. So they need the skills to pull together a virtual team, to collaborate together, and to manage the progress of a project where, people who are not in the same firm work together in a coordinated way. It just seems to me that you lived through and experienced something that could be a really good business for you.
Yeah, I think so, Jackie. It's becoming clear to me where I should focus my energy, and I really appreciate your class for helping me drill down into what's important. And one thing that grew out of, once I started studying with you, I realized that I have all these skills that I've collected from a lot of different places that I can synthesize and bring to any group, any business, I believe, and I'm still testing that theory out, but it seems to be working. It hasn't been disproven yet, let me just say. And the synthesis of skills is the things you're talking about. There's some pragmatic tools that are available that I've picked up along the way. One is facilitation tools, really unique facilitation tools that maybe, more technical people might not find on their own. The one in particular that I studied last year and an ongoing use of it is technology of participation, and we've talked about that before. That one's technology participation, facilitation methods is really, it's formulaic, but it gets at the need for real technical people to drill down into the details and be able to frame up those details and group them so they have a clear roadmap of where they want to go. And I love that. I brought that into the city of Portland, and they're the group I'm still working with, use that technique quite a bit now. They've learned it, so they don't need me to facilitate it. And I think it's really made a difference in how they approach their problem solving and, getting projects started. I think that's sort of how I got going with all this, too. I get on projects, and it seemed like it was really hard to understand even how to start. So, so my path was all those things of mediation, facilitation, collaborating on cross-functional teams. And then I discovered Agile project management, and in particular Agile with Scrum. And those management practices have been used primarily in the software development field, but they're becoming more and more used in non-software applications. Mm-hmm. We have a LinkedIn site for Agile project management, non-software, non-IT, and that LinkedIn site, there've been some discussions, and people are putting titles of books there and stuff. We're coming across things where we're trying to build a community of people who are applying Agile outside of software. And it's pretty exciting to me because you just might not find it, but the underpinnings of Agile are relevant, and I think they really should be the way we think about things. And they focus on iterative development, really looking at producing products, whatever your product is, producing your product faster. Don't spend as much time planning.
Well, I can see how important that would be, and I think that what we were talking about is the rapid growth of the number of people who are acting and working as solos rather than, they're acting as free agents with a portfolio of skills that they have. And just like you and the 4 people that you bid on the job, the issue is how do 3 or 4 free agents with a skill set come together and quickly gain the trust and communication and common language that they can use to coordinate on a project pro forma or a project proposal, and should they win the project, on actually bringing the project to a timely and successful conclusion. And boy, that's a skill set that is needed, and it's a skill set that is needed within organizations like you're talking about, the Portland Water, is it Portland Water Bureau you've been working with?
Bureau of Environmental Services.
The Bureau of Environmental Services, as well as, independent people who want to do bigger projects. And I think we're going to keep seeing more and more of that. Organizations don't want to have a whole lot of expensive professionals on their payroll all the time. They want to have people who are independent and in their portfolio, and people that they can call upon for specific things, people who can, speak a common language, have a common approach like Agile, a common approach and process for problem solving and planning and, laying out a project and, as you said, call it framing it up and laying out the details and then assigning tasks and getting things done. So, to me, there's just a huge opportunity for you to not only participate in those things, but teach other people how to do them, because that will make them more successful in their engineering also. I just think there's a huge opportunity for you to do that.
Definitely. I'm collaborating with a friend at the moment on developing a training for approaching approaching proposals for federal contracts, and
good.
I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to. I think we've come a long way already over the summer, and it's been an interesting process to even think through. We know how to write them and how to put these proposals together, but teaching it is another. Teaching other people how to break their thinking down and then setting it all up again so that they can produce a proposal is a fascinating thing for me to think through.
Yeah,
I've really been having a lot of fun with that.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I've offered the workshop Corral the Chaos. I offered it in North Carolina last February, past February, with you back in October, and then I'm going to offer it again at Clackamas Community College.
Oh, good.
October. Yeah, October 9th, I believe, is the date they're trying to set up. And I continue to refine that also, but that lays out some of those steps and going to help people understand this methodology better.
Oh, I think I'm smiling as you say that, Alicia, because I think there's a big opportunity for you in that. I was just thinking about your class on how to approach and prepare proposals for federal contracts. The government agencies are required to have a percentage of their contracts be with smaller businesses and often with solopreneurs, and they have a very difficult time reaching them, finding them who have the capacity to do the work that they're required to hire them for. And, the smaller businesses and the solopreneurs are looking for the kind of help that you're offering. And they're saying, wow, we would love to be involved in that. How do we go about doing it? How do we educate ourselves to not just go after federal contracts, but also state contracts or, other government-type contracts? And, the government spends a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
We ought to get part of it.
I like that idea.
I do too.
I think it's possible.
So, how have you developed, because so much of this, you talked about facilitation skills, so much of what you're doing is moving from the left brain to the right brain of relationship building, communication skills. So how have you gone about developing that part of your own skill set?
It's an ongoing process, Jackie. I've some of my history, I was just mentioning that technology of participation. Really I attend Project Management Institute's monthly meetings, and from there I learn about workshops that are coming up. And, I've taken several workshops through them, one of which is Extreme Project Management. And that was really my first introduction to iterative development and really agile management. And I've been on projects where I just felt that I needed something else. My skills were lacking. And that's really how I ended up with taking Jean Richardson's class, Collaboration on Cross-Functional Teams. Phenomenal. It was really extremely helpful. I was on a project where we were trying to break down these silos with teams, different groups, and we needed to collaborate, and I didn't have the skills to help the team move forward. So I went and got them. I went and got some more training. And then this summer, through some of the people I've met in the Agile world, I learned about human systems dynamics. So I took that training this summer, which was really wonderful. It gave me more tools for my toolbox, working with groups. But also they covered the theory behind why the tools work and a little bit more about, it gave me more confidence in knowing which tool to pull out when. And the underpinnings of that training is, that we work in a lot of different situations, and a lot of our projects are increasingly complex, and they require this collaboration and a different type of leadership model even.
Yes.
We talk a lot about servant leadership and really putting the team front and center. Command and control doesn't work anymore, and so not in all places. And we have to learn those skills and learn what it means to work with teams like that. And I think the younger generation probably already feels that way. I mean, they've got the internet. They know. They already are working collaboratively on school projects and stuff, and they're entering the work world. That's what they're going to expect. That's what's going to be important for them. So human systems dynamics taught me a lot more tools, the theory why the tools work, and kind of boils down to adaptive action, 3 questions: what, so what, now what. And that, I thought was really powerful. And if you think about it, anything you enter into, what it is, what's happening, and what does it mean, and now what should I do? What should we do?
Yeah.
It's pretty neat way to think about complex systems and complex groups.
I just think you're in exactly the right spot. There's an awful lot of people that are talking about how do we collaborate, how do we approach complex systems. I mean, we don't have any simple problems anymore. Everything is complex, and many people are involved, and everything is attached to everything else, and you can't separate it out and look at it by itself. It's everything is interactive. And I also think you're right about kids are learning this in school. I mean, when I went to school, which is 100 years ago, they it was on these little rows of desks, and kids haven't been in little rows of desks for a long time. They're at tables, they're in teams, they're the teacher counts on the faster understanding students to teach the ones who are slower understanders, and they work on projects together. They work on so they're coming out of school with that kind of a concept. So I think what you're doing is just absolutely perfectly timed for opportunities for you to build your world. So where did you take the class of collaboration on cross-functional teams? Who taught it? Team Systems Dynamics? Pardon?
Jean Richardson teaches it.
Oh, okay.
And she's teaching it. She last taught it at Merrillhurst. I took it at Portland State.
Okay.
They're the Professional Development Center. But Jean has moved the class to Merrillhurst, and I highly recommend that class as well.
Yes.
An eye-opener. It's really powerful.
Yes, and I can see that you are very practical and warm and good at people relationships, and so you can take the the left brain side of it and work it through the the right brain need that what do they say? Nobody cares what you know until they know what you care that you care.
Yeah. Well, and I think, Jackie, some of my story is, growing up on the farm, and we all had to work together, which was an interesting way to think about doing work. And I've thought a lot about that as my career has advanced, that we kind of, we love the Three Musketeers motto, all for one, one for all. And there are 5 of us, but we kind of did that a lot. And if you think about in a farming world, everyone does have to pull their weight. Everyone has to work together, and that's really colored my thinking about teams and working with teams. And I think being a parent has helped also. I mean, I realized that command and control only gets you so far.
Yes.
And if I work with my daughter, who's now a teenager, when I'm present and I'm really thinking about what I'm doing, my job is to just eliminate the obstacles for her to help her grow as much as she can and achieve as much as she can. And that's how I approach my management also. I'm always very interested in looking at the team members, helping them grow. I really think that's very important because, I don't know, some people say, well, you're going to work yourself out of a job, but I look at it and say, well, I haven't yet, and that gives me a chance, it gives me a chance to help other people grow a more satisfying career.
Yes, creative people never need to be afraid of working themselves out of a job, because what you're doing is that you're creating your next job as you're going. You've got such vision about possibilities that are out there. I keep saying the curse of, I call this the curse of the consultants, is that I learned this about myself, is that I see possibilities everywhere. And, so how in the world could you possibly work yourself out of a job? You're actually always creating the next job.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of energy is involved, but it's really exciting. It's,
it is. So I can't imagine
like
being in a position where I was hanging on to something because it was how things used to be. It would rather be something of saying, I see an opportunity unfolding here. Oh,
Well, you have to be brave, and I'm working on that courage part because I think, I can tend to want security and safety also. And but you're right. I found that if I do just let myself stretch out and put myself out there, things start working. It really does happen. It's been pretty exciting to see that.
And the funny thing, of course, we all want security and safety, and the funny thing about it is that I keep saying if we get warm and comfortable, what happens to me is I go to sleep.
Right.
So as much as it's a wonderful thing to be longing for, oh man, I know it's not really a good idea.
Exactly. Me too.
Yeah. Or like they say, after you're dead, you can sleep, and you get plenty of time.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
But the challenge in seeing these, different things is I have to apply. I had a friend who told me you need to apply your system to yourself, and he was absolutely right. Sometimes I forget how to actually break down all these ideas for myself and manage them so that I'm not feeling overwhelmed. Yes. So that's a challenge, but it's a good challenge to have.
Well, what it does when you really integrate what you're learning and therefore what you're teaching, and of course teaching helps you integrate your learning because you learn it and then you teach it to someone else. And by the time you teach it to someone else, you really know it. But what that does then when you integrate it into your own life is you embody it and you are living it. And people really appreciate that because then there's not a dissonance between what you're saying and what you're doing. You are showing, you are modeling the truth of what you're teaching people because you're actually doing it yourself. And that makes powerful teaching.
Yes.
That makes it really powerful. I can see that you are manifesting this. So you've been a solopreneur now for quite a while, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Let's see, 11 years.
Oh, that's good. That's good, and it keeps getting better. So what do you like best about being a solo?
Well, Jackie, I like the flexibility that it gives me. I started out on my own when my daughter was about 4 because I realized I just needed some more flexibility, and I didn't there were too many demands of the current job, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything very well. So when I went on my own, I got really lucky and got a contract with some people I'd worked with in the past at C.H. Tom Hill, and this contract was for the city of Portland. And it gave me a lot of flexibility where I could work part-time if I wanted to. I could, pursue some other projects with other firms. and also take the kind of training that I thought was important for me, not something that would help a firm grow or what they thought I should do, but rather where do my interests lead me? And that was the gift I gave myself when I started my own company, that I would take the training that interested me.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's been an interesting thing to watch. I don't think that I would have been able to grow in this particular way had I stayed at CH2M Hill, for example.
Probably.
So anyway, I think it's more the flexibility of time. Doesn't mean I'm not working a lot, but it's just I have flexibility of my hours, and it helped me raise my daughter the way I thought I should be raising a daughter, and I think I've been really happy with that. Some, there are challenges and making sure there's work in the pipeline, and I have to continually think ahead to make sure that happens. And that's just part of what I have to do to stay in business.
Yes. You can't be passive about where the next job is coming from, so you always have to be alert. And I think that actually makes us better. I think solos are, more tuned in to their clients' needs and to opening opportunities, because you always have to be looking for, the next space, the next thing that is going to rise for your services. And I think employees tend not to do that. They tend to get this idea that work is going to appear on their desk, and somebody else is creating the next project for them. But I think when you're self-employed and you're doing your project and creating the next project for yourself as you go, that there's a level of awareness that, doesn't exist otherwise. At least that's been my feeling. Yeah.
Well, I think so, and that's why it was such a pleasure to work with these other solopreneurs on that proposal, too, because we all have the same value system. We understand what it means to address a client's needs, and nobody's complacent. We all worked really hard.
Yeah.
And I think, there might be a misperception about solopreneurs that I guess if somebody has never been in that role, they don't quite understand what it takes. But I tried to explain that to the client, that we are all highly motivated people. You'll get what you need.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get what you need and what you want from us, and maybe a little, hopefully a little bit more.
Yes, I think that's very true. Because, again, the solo doesn't have the weight of the organization standing behind them that, if they make a mistake or drift off for a couple weeks or, don't handle something well, that there's somebody else in the organization that will step in and carry the ball. That doesn't happen for a solo. They're, as you say, highly motivated to do a job, do it well, be attentive, be aware of what's happening, have your all of your little sensors out on high alert, looking for ways to bring the project to a successful conclusion, of other ways that you can help the client to kind of become indispensable, because you have an awareness factor that I think, can go away when you're part of an organization, and you could say, well, that didn't matter so much. But for a solo, it matters a lot.
Yeah, it's whether you stay in business or not, basically.
Yes. So how about, how do you go about marketing your services? This is always the big bugaboo for solos. How do you do it?
Yes. Well, mine's pretty much, most of my work has been through word of mouth.
Good.
Follow-on work once I get in and do well. I mean, I've worked for the city of Portland ever since I've been in business. I'm subbed to another firm right now, GSI Water Solutions, and they're people I worked with at CH2M Hill, and they, are happily working with me now. So it's all networking, word of mouth, people I've known, and then I go to classes, and I just got a website. Jackie, you'll be proud of me.
Oh, I am happy for you.
Annette Orban, one of your other students, designed it for me. I'm really excited about it. It's beautiful. Do you want me to tell you what the site name is?
Oh, of course. We'd like people to be able to find you.
Okay, www.lanier-consulting.com. And I have a LinkedIn site that I'm attempting to keep current. All these things take some attention. I have and you can email me, Alicia@lanier-consulting.com, if you have any more questions. The workshops I think are helpful too in marketing. I haven't really developed a client out of the workshops that I've given so far. Mm-hmm. But I think that's another way that I'm getting it's helped me pull my thoughts together.
Yes.
It gives me promotional material that I can then hand to other people and say, here's the kind of stuff I do, here's how I talk about it. And then that's led to some other opportunities. So, indirectly, the workshops also
establish you as an expert.
Mm-hmm.
When you step forth and offer a workshop and that you are going to teach and guide and train other people, you are, declaring your own expertise. And then, of course, you get to show it by, carrying out the workshop. And that's a wonderful way to put yourself out and say, look, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to show you that I know what I'm doing. And you get your name out there. I think that's a wonderful way for you to market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I think, and Jackie, I struggle with describing what I do. I'm still struggling with that elevator speech.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I teach people what I know, the clearer it becomes. What my role needs to be in businesses or in group work. It's getting clearer to me. So that I think it just must be an ongoing process.
It is an ongoing process, and it's kind of like what I hear is you are ever closer to planting your flag, your stake in the ground, and say, this is me. And, I've seen that there's been a huge blossoming, and you have integrated the technical side of civil engineering and project management with the people side of facilitation skills and communication skills and team building skills, and you're bringing those together and you're melding them so that groups and organizations can handle complex problems and deal with them in a much better way. And that's quite a gift to be bringing, Alicia.
Well, thank you, Jackie. And it's important to me. People ask, well, why do you like doing this, and what's in it for you? And I realize I just like. It sounds funny, but I really like to see people happy, working productively, and not stressed. And I think it's sort of, if we can avoid it, then we ought to. That's how I feel about it.
Yes.
And if there's tools and ways to do it, then I'd like to help people do that.
And not only that, as we talked about before, the issues that we're facing today in our world are pretty big and pretty complicated and pretty complex. And, the sooner people can overcome their, what would I call it, their distrust of one another and come together with their skill sets and blend their skills, trust each other, and then face the issue and find ways to describe it so that everybody's all working on the same problem. Everybody's all applying, their knowledge and their capabilities to getting the same thing done. The better off we're all going to be. And I can see what you're doing is really helping people do that. Come together and, use their talent and approach some complex issues and begin to move them along towards solution.
Mm-hmm. And one thing, if I follow the servant leader model, which I really try to remember to do that. I think part of it is my nature, but then we tend to have a scarcity mentality. Are we the expert, and is there only room for one expert? And I have to remind myself that the more people who learn these tools, the better off we'll all be, and that's the role. And as a servant leader, that's how you want to think about your team, and that's how I try to approach my business. And I really realize I am happy when I see people grow and take off. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they grow and take off. They don't need me anymore, that particular group, and that's fine. I think that's the way that needs to be.
Yeah.
I need to be happy with that too, and that gives me another opportunity to stretch my wings a little bit.
That's the way I want people to be an expert. I want people to be an expert from the standpoint of saying, I really have a skill set around these certain, capabilities and tools, and I'm going to share them with you and teach them to you. I'm not going to jealously guard them so that I am the only expert. I'm going to teach them and share them with you, and what you are going to do is by interacting with me, you are going to push me to the next level in my own growth. And so I'm going to give you what I've learned so far, and I say by challenging me as students and by, forcing me to articulate what it is that I know, you're going to help me grow to my own next level. And I think that's what being an expert is all about, not, saying, okay, this is mine, and I'm not going to give it to anybody, because if I give it to somebody, it's going to make it less, whereas what we know is that sharing ideas makes them grow.
Yeah, and you're a good role model for that, Jackie. As you're talking about that, I realize that's exactly what you do with your program, your Better, Smarter, Richer. You offer your free book, and you have the follow-on booster shots, and it gives us all a way to learn from each other. And I see you continue to stretch too. So it's
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm walking my talk.
You are. I appreciate that.
Well, Alicia, I have just absolutely loved talking with you and seeing where you have grown from, I think we talked about a year ago. I've just loved it, and I love the direction that you're going. And why don't you remind us again, because I'm sure there are a couple people that are just jumping up and down with excitement and saying, I need to talk with this woman. So tell us again how we can get hold of you and contact Lanier Consulting. Tell us again.
Okay. So I have a website, www.lanier-consulting.com.
And that's Lanier.
Dash.
Right.
Consulting.
Right.
You can email me, Alicia, Alicia, at Lanier-consulting.com.
Great.
I have my phone number, my business phone number is 503-970-3487.
All right.
You can check out my LinkedIn site, and you could come to my workshop at Clackamas Community College on October 9th.
On Control the Chaos.
Yes, exactly.
Which is a system of organizing a decision-making process.
Yes, I'm going to
right?
teach how to break down. Exactly. That's well said, Jackie. Break down. Take a project. If you're overwhelmed, I'll teach you how to break it down and then frame it back up together. Frame it back up so you have a good roadmap to follow, so that you can actually really jump in and get started and be successful.
Right. Not be overwhelmed. I've got so much to do, I can't get anything done.
Exactly.
Alicia, I've loved talking with you, and listeners, this is today, and I just want to remind you, this is Jackie B. Peterson, author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs. We've been talking with entrepreneurs today, Alicia Lanier, who's got this wonderful consulting process. She teaches people how to do a better, clearer, more organized job of approaching big, complex projects, and she can teach you how to do that as well. So next week we'll be here again on Wednesday. We're going to be talking with Alyssa Gasca, who is another consultant that I've been working with, another lady who's bringing a whole lot of skill set to entrepreneurs. In the meantime, please go to my website, www.bettersmarterricher.com. You can download the free ebook of the 7 principles. Remember, it's different being a solo than being a traditional business. And this will help you take a look at the things you need to do to be financially successful. Remember that we're going to have a free symposium at Portland Community College Climb Center, 6 to 9 p.m. on September 18th. And also we're beginning 2 Better, Smarter, Richer study groups, one on September 24th at the Willow Creek campus for Portland Community College out on 185th and Baseline. And the one on Thursday, September 26th, will begin at 9 o'clock in the morning at the Climb Center. I look forward to talking with each of you, and I look forward to you tuning in again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you, Jackie.